now for the Shop Report with
Barbershop Jay.
What up, sports fans? Welcome to the Shop Report. I'm Barbershop Jay. I'll be your host for the day. Here's what's happening. If you're up and around, you're out and about, and you want to give us a shout, that number to call is area code 267-687-0026. Once again, that number is area code 267-687-0026. We are proud to say the Shop Report is being brought to you by none other than the fine folks over at Rocket Digital. If you find yourself in need of services such as marketing consulting, media production, or social media advertising, and a host of other digital services, hop on over to their Facebook page at RDM Detroit, and tell them Jay from the shop sent you. Once again, hop on over to their Facebook page at Robert David Mary Detroit, and then again, tell them Jay from the shop sent you. Joining me on the P-Rogram today is none other than my cat from the NYC, a.k.a. Rucker Park. Brother Rich, what's happening?
I'm always honored and humbled to be with you. I hope everyone in Dallas is riding through this quarantine and this time we're all indoors, and I'm sure that the weather is nice there in Dallas for you all, and it's just always good to be with you, my friend. Always good to be.
You know what, man? When you started out, I said, man, he can finally say something nice, but you just can't do it, can you? You just can't do it. Huh? Man, you better be glad we've been friends for 35 years, man. Because if it had been 34 years, I would have told you something. Can I introduce our other co-host? You know what I'm saying? Do we have time for that? Maybe, you think? And on the other side of the ledger, we got my man from up north, Joey James, a.k.a. Double J. Tell the people what you say.
MJ's desire to win has only been rivaled by Barbershop's desire for the Cowboys to win.
You know, oh, what you say, Brother Rich? Facts. Is that what you said? You know what, man? I'm getting sick and tired of y'all in this Dallas Cowboys thing. Okay, yeah, you're a day late and $12 short. I'm getting sick of y'all in this Cowboys thing. I really am. Okay, up first. Can we talk sports now or no? You all still want to? What do you all want to talk about? Let's talk about what you all want to talk about. Can we talk about what I put together here today or no? Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Up first, and this just came across me actually this morning when I was doing my last-minute checks and so on and so forth about things we want to discuss here on the show today. And I noticed, or not noticed, but I saw that the Major League Baseball, the owners have announced the plans for the 2020 season. And I thought this was interesting. So I wanted to throw this out here at you guys, even though this was not part of the original show notes. What the Major League Baseball owners, or MLB owners, are proposing, or their plan, for the 2020 season, 82-game schedule, no fans in attendance, expanded playoffs, although I didn't find any information to say how expanded or how much of an expansion the playoffs will be as of yet, universal designated hitter, I'm not sure how that'll work, and the use of home stadiums approved. Double J, what do you think about these plans, quote unquote, to not have to cancel the 2020 MLB season?
Well, I think this has really been sparked, or the catalyst for was based off what Dana White's been able to do with the UFC, meaning that there's a lot of television and broadcast opportunities as a whole to really capture. I think we're beyond as a society the point of just shelter in place and scale back from a business perspective. And I think these guys are looking at it as we can accomplish this logistically, with certain health measures in mind, and essentially give the people what they want, which is the product itself. So ultimately, though, it is going to come down to the players. and how they feel. I mean, I've seen in multiple sports some folks with a lot of mixed reactions, to say the least. And so we'll see what the players say, because ultimately, thankfully, they get the final say on that.
Brother Rich, what about you?
Well, I'm going to play the Angels advocate on this other side of it and take this point of view.
The Angels
How many
advocate?
people are on the baseball?
Okay, got you. I thought you was a
not the
Yankees
devil.
fan anyway. Just
devil.
like
I'm not playing
LeBron
it.
flip-flopping. Go ahead.
So,
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, absolutely not. Sir. Now, I know you wanted me to say the Cowboy. I'm going to play the Cowboys.
No, I didn't want you.
But nevertheless, let's keep going with it, sir. So I'm not going to play the Cowboy. I'm going to play the Angel here. And say this. How many people does it take to field the baseball team, management, ancillary staff, players, additional players who are non-rostered at that time, who are traveling, pilot staff, hotel staff? Who's the first person that comes down with the virus that's among the staff? You have elderly, you have managers in baseball that are over 50, 60 that are in that area that we're talking about. You have 60-year-old umpires and managers in baseball, and not all healthy 21-year-olds with vibrant immune systems. And now we're finding out that some young people are being compromised with this virus. So here's a player. You're playing. You think your children are wonderful. They're going to be okay because you haven't heard any news lately that this affects children. So when's the first circumstance where we have an interaction where this virus is passed around in a way in any arena of sports where there's a problem? It's different in, you all talked about UFC. That compromises only a few people. Only this small group over here and this small group over here. But when you're talking about football, where there's 100 people on that sideline, 100 people on that sideline, and you have to have people to service and support each of those individuals, so multiply that person by another 2 people. So how do we achieve this? Well, of course we're going to achieve it because what Double J told us several weeks ago when we initially had this conversation on this program was that the owners are focused on, and unfortunately many of the players are liable to their own financial immaturity where they have to play because they have not saved their money, that they're living paycheck to paycheck, even though they're multimillionaires, and some of them have several $100,000 supposedly in their bank account at any one time. Some of them have millions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars, but they need to continue to receive that income to continue their lifestyle, so they're able to make a deal with management, and the owners certainly want to see that revenue come in, as Double J was just telling us about, from sports and television, entertainment, and packages that they have with all of these different various networks. So, of course, it's going to happen. But unfortunately, if, as they're telling us, a virus is really out here, either a virus is out here or it's not. Because if it's good enough for them to go back to work and be in close quarters and play and
that's where I was going with it, too.
I say this every week on the program. Okay.
Yeah, no, I say the same thing. If it's good enough for them, yeah, then we should all be able to, everything should be lifted. But, I mean, there's some reports, outside of sports where, like here in Cleveland, for instance, even though, the barbershops are supposedly getting ready to open back up on the 15th in a couple of days here, bars or some or another, there have been a few establishments that said that, despite DeWine, kind of not fully lifting the ban, if you would, for lack of a better word or term, but even though DeWine has somewhat lifted it or is going to or whatnot, they say they're going to remain shut down until August. Matter of fact, I saw one report where I forget what the entity was. I don't know if it was a school. I can't remember. So don't quote me on that part. But some folks were talking about, they're not going to open back up until late in the fall, October, November, if then, So we'll see how this thing goes. I'm not going to lie and say I'm not interested to see whether or not if they can pull it off. But I'm with you, though, Brother Rich. If they go to do this, and then one person gets it, heaven forbid, you don't want that to happen. Now that really going to shed a spotlight or put a spotlight on the whole deal. And then we right back to square one. You know what I mean? And probably even the stipulations will get even a little bit more stringent. If I'm using that right, you know what I mean? In other words, it'd be a A lot more. Okay.
You're absolutely correct.
Right. Yeah. So.
Jay, this virus is in the White House. There are people in the White House. They're supposed to be guiding us through this. The virus is in the White House.
Yeah. Well,
how are we going to pretend that the virus is not out here?
Yeah. Well, they had a few. The White House folk, but nobody's. That's what I don't understand either. It's do as I say, but not as I do, so to speak. In other words, everybody running around here wearing masks, but I have yet to see anybody, and I haven't watched all of them, but I've seen a few snippets of here and there of folks at the White House, and I ain't seen nobody with a mask on, and I sure didn't see nobody social distancing. You get what I'm trying to tell you? So, I guess it's just business as usual. I don't know. What your actions are belying your words, so to speak. I'm supposed to do it, but then what about you? You know what I mean? It makes no sense to me. But again, we'll see how this whole thing plays out, as well as with the NBA and the NFL too. Dr. Fauci came out yesterday or day before yesterday and said that the virus had exponentially could increase big time. The NFL season took place, so we'll see how it goes. We'll keep you all updated on the status of Major League Baseball and NHL and soccer and football and basketball as they go along, or as we move along in this era of the COVID-19. Okay, let us turn the page, if you would. I thought Gully would be with us by now, but we'll wait for him to come here. I thought he wanted to get in on that first one, but it's fine. Let us turn the page here and talk about what my man Vince Carter said. Now, Double J, did you see his comments? Didn't I tag you in them?
You sure did.
Okay. All right. Well, just let me. But Brother Rich, are you familiar with what Vince Carter said?
I did.
Okay. Oh, okay. So I didn't know. Okay. All right. I don't. Did I send it in the group text that you and I don't know. I'm telling you. All of a sudden.
No, you didn't send it to me. I went and researched it.
Okay. Okay. Got you. Okay. Woo. Good looking out for the save, bro. Because I fought for a minute. Now, I was doing good here, man. For a minute, I was doing good. I ain't had no senior moments. Then I was like, oh, today, all of a sudden, I guess that's what the AARP card is for, right? Anywho, free plug. Yeah, Atlanta Hawks swingman, Mr. Do-It-All, Mr. Everything. Been doing it ever since I was, 5? I'm being facetious. Seemed like he'd been in the league that long, for 500 years. Vince Carter went on an episode, or he appeared on the episodes of, what's the guy? T.I. T.I. got a podcast called Expeditiously, and Vince Carter was on there. And he, I didn't hear the whole thing, whatever, but, and I pulled up this article I'm going to read to you all right quick. But, they was talking about this and that, and whatever, and they got, of course, to the whole ideal of, championships and so on and so forth. And here's what Vince said, and I quote, "I'm not going to, quote, unquote, sell my soul to get a ring. What I mean by that is, I feel like at this age, being 43 on the court and still being able to compete and play and do what I can do on the court, my thing is that if I go to another team out there that's primed and ready to win a championship, it's not guaranteed that I'm going to play or play a lot. And I can't handle that, my brother. I love the game too much to just sit there and use my voice, but can't use my skill on the court. Now, this isn't the first time that Carter, as we know, who has never won a title in his long and illustrious career, has said he isn't interested in chasing rings. See, and a lot of people, before I go any further, I mentioned this to a couple of people. They was like, yeah, it's funny how a dude, now he ain't making no money, or now he on the end, now he want to talk. I said, he said this before he signed with the Hawks. Am I right about that, Double J? Everything I've found so far says I'm right about that, but I don't know. Did you see something different as far as when he said it?
No,
right.
Yeah, he's been pretty consistent on his stance, and his actions speak to that.
Okay, good. Thank you. So he goes on to say, I come from an era where that's not how it was. So that's still instilled in me. Let me repeat that. He came from an era where that's not how they did things, and that's still instilled in him. What's that? What's another word for something like that, Brother Rich? How would you the summation? How would you sum that up? Maybe principle. Okay. Okay. And I
like that word, principle.
Yeah. And he said, and I don't have any problem with how it's done now. He said, it's just not for me. Carter told Harris, T.I., that he has no issues serving as a mentor to his younger teammates, a role he's filled on the Hawks, in the 2019-20 season. But he added that he enjoys playing the game too much to simply sit and watch, even if doing so might help him get his first title with a contending team. Regardless, Carter's days in the NBA might be over, with no certainty on whether the NBA regular season will be played amid the COVID-19 pandemic. I say epidemic, but anyway, it's possible the league could simply bypass those games and go straight into the postseason or a play-in tournament once play resumes. If the latter occurred, the season will be over for the 20-47 Hawks. Good. He might come back for another season. So, Brother Rich, what's your take on what Mr. Carter said about not selling his soul? Because I went back and forth with a few folk on Facebook who took his comments and totally went the other way with it. They started talking about how much money he ain't making. He was never the lead guy on a championship team, and he ain't got no leadership. And my question to both of them was, excuse my French fries, what the hell, as in mayo, do that got to do with the man said he wouldn't sell his soul for a championship? See, what he did when I said that to y'all and I posted that to some folk, what it did was touched off a nerve. You get what I'm trying to tell you? Just because your favorite player is your favorite player, that don't mean you make your favorite player because of your favorite player the best. But anyway, I'm sorry, Brother Rich. Go ahead.
Well, let's go with who he said. He said it came in and he's with a class. His class, who's in his class? What kind of players did he play with in his day? He played with one Kobe Bryant. God rest his beautiful soul forever. He played with the kind of players in an era and in a time where Allen Iverson was running the court. Shaquille O'Neal was running the court. He played with some people. He played with the Bulls, against the Bulls, pardon. He played in an era where people were really going for it, and you wrote it out. Well, I think the other thing with him is that initially when he came in the league, he understood that you had to have he understood the kind of player he was, the kind of situation. Remember, he came into Toronto, the kind of situation he came into
with McGrady,
and how he moved around, and exactly him and Grady. So I think he understood the situation he came into, and that probably was his best chance for a championship. So after that, then rather than just go championship hunting and understanding the dynamics of how the league works, the politics of the NBA, having started in Toronto, getting involved in that and coming around, being always a great player, a good player, great player, but never that one that was the one where you could build around him like that, And so it turned out that I think he just accepted who and what he was, and like a Dennis Rodman type player. And he accepted that he got into certain situations where he could continue to do what he did, and being a very athletic player. That's what kept him in the league so long, is that he still to this day can dunk and do some of the great things that he did athletically. And so when you're that kind of player, you certainly cannot sit on the bench, because your skills will atrophy in no time flat with that kind of skill set that he has in particular. And he's more susceptible to being hurt. So for somebody like him, he's like a Jordan type with less talent, in that he plays for the love of the game. He's like a Kobe type. They play for the love of the game. He just never had the kind of drive and the kind of engine and the kind of natural God-given talent that Kobe and Michael Jordan had.
Yeah. We're joined by, of course, my man D. Gully from the CO Lumbus. Gully, what it do?
Hey, how you doing, guys? Thanks you for the opportunity again. Great to be back with you. Sorry for the tardiness. Working on something here that's really big, and I appreciate you for still giving me an opportunity to voice my opinion. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and give it back to you.
That's all to the GO. Yeah, Brother Rich, Reggie Miller said the same thing, too, a few years ago. Of course, I plan to win a championship. You know what I mean? But because he said he never had any thoughts of leaving Indiana. You get what I'm saying? I always thought that, and see, everybody, of course, we this ongoing comparison thing is really, it's not really a comparison, because the things that people are trying to compare On my side of the ledger, you can't quantify. You understand what I'm saying? When I thought, and especially after, seeing this Last Dance documentary up to this point so far, part 7 and 8. Part 8 just sealed the deal for me. I mean, if he didn't know, it shut the door. I mean, I'm going to watch 9 and 10, but, probably with one eye open. But when you talk about the Kobe's and the Jordans, and Reggie Miller wasn't Kobe or Jordan, but he had that tenacity, that fire, that will to win. Is just that Jordan's was greater than his or some of the other guys. They all had elements of that. And no stat could ever make up that difference. Or no stat should ever be synonymous with that, man. You know what I mean? Guys think, oh, he got 50,000 points. I said, yeah, man, but what he ain't got, you can't, and the points don't make up for. You get what I'm saying? So, Double J, what say you in regards to my man VC and his comments?
You brought up comparison, and something on the program we've discussed a lot, with other coaches that are on the day-to-day having an impact and having communication with the next generation, how they're wired and how their psyche is and what they're what motivates them. When it comes to comparison, I think one of the, as you pointed out, it's stuff you cannot quantify, and it's simply to in my opinion, to summarize this, you're talking about mentality here. And as Brother Rich pointed out, Kobe, of course, this documentary, no less, reemphasizes MJ's. And again, I would say echoed by Vince Carter. Again, this is a guy that many may have forgotten the impact he had. Canadian basketball is what it became today because of Vince Carter.
And you know what, Vince Carter? Hold on,
and
let me throw this out here right quick. Would you all say at one point in his heyday that Vince Carter was indeed a bona fide superstar?
Without a doubt.
Okay.
A doubt.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Go ahead, Double J. I just wanted to throw that out there.
And so, I think we lose sight on his age, and the despite him playing in the Today BA, when he entered the league, the mentality of the league itself. You got to remember, this is the same league that at one point in time, Master P was on that same Toronto Raptors team in the preseason 99-2000, and he was not given a warm welcome from guys like Charles Oakley. So it didn't matter who you were. Today it wouldn't shock us. Look at Drake receiving a championship ring. That in a nutshell shows you the difference of today versus yesteryear and why it's so difficult for many to wrap their head around the decisions that are taking place in the present.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting? You mentioned the Drake getting the doggone championship ring. I look at that as like James Harrison, the former Steelers linebacker. When he came home one day and saw his son, football team, whatever, he had got a participation trophy, and he took.
Don't do that.
Don't do what? It's not the same.
You just compare Drake to James Harrison?
No. I'm talking about when I'm comparing what James Harrison did. No. Why would I compare Drake to James Harrison? Double J, did the senior moments? Are they contagious or something?
You just said they both were given participation trophies.
No, you didn't hear me correctly. I'm not comparing James Harrison to Drake. I'm saying, like James Harrison, when he came home and took his son's participation trophy, he said, "It's only one trophy. What are you getting? He said, son, there's no offense to him. He sat him down. Did your team win? No, they lost. So why are you getting a trophy? That's my whole point is, why should Drake have gotten a championship ring? What did Drake do to contribute to the championship? Exactly. Nothing. What are you getting a championship ring for?
He was. I will say this. I will defend him only to this extent. To my understanding of it, he was a brand ambassador to the Toronto Raptors.
Oh, stop it.
Essentially,
oh, yeah.
he was on their payroll in some respect. Yeah. You know, so the same way that your front office would get a ring is why he received one.
Yeah.
But if you were to ask me, and I really hope that not only our audience, but just globally, if you were to ask who's had a bigger impact as far as being a brand ambassador to basketball in Canada, which again, if you look at the origin of basketball, that has ties and roots to Canada as well. But who's had a bigger impact on the game itself north of the border or south here in Detroit?
Then Drake?
It's absolutely.
Guess what? Listen.
Vince Carter.
You said Vince Carter and not Drake?
Correct, Vince Carter. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I don't disagree with any of that. I thought I'm about to say. I thought you were going to say Drake because I'm going to say all of that's fine, but he don't deserve no championship ring. He didn't deserve no championship ring. I mean, I know he got ends, and he might sell platinum records and all of that, but he didn't deserve no NBA championship ring. Gully, what say you? Did you want me to repeat what I asked him, or you heard me say the Vince Carter article, right? That's what we at, right?
Yeah. I got a slightly different take, and with all due respect to Vince Carter, I think he's at a convenient position to assess whether his contemporaries or guys in the league at a certain point in their career are ring chasing and selling their soul. I mean, ultimately, he's saying he wants to still be able to get out there and play, and compete, and that's what he wants to do. Which is why I think even at his age, I think last year, I think some other NBA players actually took issue with the fact that Vince Carter at his age, at his ability level, is taking away spots for younger guys to get a shine. Because he's still, I guess, healthy enough, or still, let's say, able enough to be worthy of a roster spot, although. It would be a bit excessive to consider him as a key part to a championship contender or a builder. My point is this: Vince Carter said, if I paraphrase correctly, and Jay, you got the quote right near you, but he said, I'm 43. He recited his age and what he wants to do in basketball at his age. He's made enough money. He's had 2 opportunities to be an integral part of a title contender when he was in Toronto and when he went to New Jersey. That ship is sailed. That horse has left the barn. I don't think it's fair to maybe, let's say, play shade if you take his comments and you compare it to guys who perhaps actually did it, like a Juwan Howard when he was with Miami, or Antoine Walker in Miami. I think it's a bit dishonest to call that selling your soul when guys had made enough money and they want to experience what it's like to win at the highest level. And as long as they're on a roster spot and they're getting some type of time, they're still in those practices every day. And whether their impact is on the court, it's just like a backup QB in football. You know what I'm saying? Being integral in winning a title, where maybe they don't play as much. We don't see them as much on the field. So I think it's a bit disingenuous to say that guys at a certain point in their career go from the team, like let's say what's my man name from Xavier, David West, to criticize, the challenge what David West did after he left Indiana to go with San Antonio and then to go with Golden State.
Yeah, but was that David West's decision?
Being that guy.
But was that David West's decision though? I mean, it might have been some stuff
behind.
What
do you mean to go ring chase? I mean, he signed with San Antonio. Yeah.
Go ahead, Brother
Rich. Making his point by pointing out David West. You just made his point. Because that's exactly what I was going to mention to you in rebuttal. You just made his point when you pointed out David West. Because what he's saying is, I could have done the same kind of thing David West did. I could have, but what he's saying is the kind of player I was, I respected myself and my talent and the kind of player I was, and I respect the fact that that's, just as you said beautifully, that ship sailed. He understood it sailed. If I go just play for a championship team, I'll just be riding the bench, and I love to play, and I'm not just going to go play for Golden State for a year, so take 2 jumpers. They would have signed them in all these years that they on their championship runs. They picked up a couple of pieces, but he said, nah, because I'm not going to go play for Golden State and sit on the bench and just get a ring. Yeah, I get a ring, but nobody ever remembered he was on that team. Just as I, for one, was very happy for Andre Iguodala that he got a ring at close to the end of his career, but it fairly at a point where he was strong enough and good enough to still contribute. Because I followed him from when he was in Philadelphia, and I've always liked that they used to call him the next AI.
Yeah.
And so I always liked him as a player, but he contributed in a very viable way. Vince Carter understands that ship sailed a long time ago. He was never going to contribute again like he did at Toronto and New Jersey. So he just said, man, I'm just going to ride it out and just go get some money. I'm going to take the best I can, go play for these teams that will, my name will sell enough tickets and get some people in the arena that's nostalgic, and these teams will sign me for that, and I'll get a good contract, go down there and play. And people forgot he was in the league, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but Vince Carter's just one of them dudes.
Well,
Vince Carter's one of them guys.
So,
He just not cut from that. He not cut from that cloth that milked the clock, quote unquote cloth. Right. That just ain't him. He's saying he could play. You don't think some teams would have picked him up to be because he's still playing at a high enough level. He could still knock down a shot for you. I mean, you know what I'm saying, and get you. He can get you 20 to 15, 20, maybe 25 on a good night or whatever it is. Don't think that he couldn't be no contributor, like no disrespect to none of them guys that went wherever they went, the Steven Jacksons and whoever else went wherever they did, and was Robert Ory's. You know, Vince could have hit a couple of 9 points that could have turned the tide in a series and so on and so forth. He just said, man, he said, I want what it sounds like to me. He's saying, I want my contributions to match the chip. That's what it sounds like he's saying to me. Right. He said, and I don't feel like that's if my contribution on the court ain't matching with what I look like standing in the ring. In the mirror, looking at my championship ring, but then looking in the back in the mirror and feel like I ain't do a damn thing. Excuse my French fries. You get what I'm saying? That's how he looking at it to me.
You don't want to be Scott Burrell.
Yeah,
you don't want to be Scott Burrell.
Exactly.
You don't want to be Scott Burrell.
And that's no knock to Scott Burrell. I'm just saying. Like what Reggie Miller said, the same thing. If I don't, when Reggie said it, man, it almost brought tears to my eyes. Because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Reggie said.
Well, wait, hey, listen, I got to object, though, especially on my David West analogy. I think it's important at this time to introduce numbers. And relatively, for the last 3 years of their career, David West with Golden State those 2 years and with San Antonio the year prior in 2015, he averaged just about the same number of minutes that Vince Carter's averaged these last 3 years. That's why I say I think it's a bit dishonest or disingenuous to say it's selling your soul when a guy a guy at that advanced age in their career will go to try to get a championship. David West and Vince Carter had roughly the same amount of minutes played. That means those valued jumpers that you could say that were few and far between compared to them earlier in their career, those were still there. So David West, in fact, averaged about the same amount of minutes. That means he probably had about the same amount of touches as Vince Carter, but he did it with the obvious, if you will, rather transparent method of going to a title contender for his chance to win a championship.
Okay, so but
I think that's a bit unfair to call it selling your soul at that point.
Okay, but see, here's the thing too, though. When he made the comments, just from where I'm sitting, I'm thinking he's making the comments in general. I think he's talking about whoever do it at whatever point. You get what I'm saying? And like he said, that ship has sailed on me. I don't know if he's really knocking David West for going at the time that he went or not. That's what made me ask you the question. Was that David West's decision? You understand what I'm saying? To go to Golden State. Or to go to San Antonio.
Yes, it was. He signed as a free agent. Yeah, he signed as a free agent. When he went in 2014, the Spurs won the title. He ended his contract he was done with his contract in Indiana. He took league minimum to sign with San Antonio because he felt like they were a title contender. They lost in the second round to the Thunder, and that very next year,
Right, I remember
he
that.
signed with Golden State.
Right, I remember that. Well, then technically it applies to him too. Then
Here's my question, though, guys, is that we're we have as a sport, I guess, following the society, if you will, put so much emphasis on rings, especially when you're comparing the quote unquote GOAT. For Vince to make this statement, sure, it adds a lot of substance about mentality, but as Jake, as Barbershop pointed out here, you heard people already taking shots at him. Does it take away from his overall legacy that he doesn't have one? Because you see what they've done to
No,
even
not
guys
to
like
me.
Charles Barkley, who they
not to me.
again, not to you. Many purists will always remember him as, at the very least, as a great dunker. But
No, hold it,
to,
Double J. If it, hold on, let me hold your thought. If there's any basketball person that calls himself a purist, and they only see Vince Carter as a dunker, then they're not a purist. And if you want to call them a purist, then they're a narrow-minded purist. And then in that instance, how could you really be a purist? Because he was far more.
Here's where
he was
my
far more than just a
concern
dunker.
comes into play is just even if you as you framed it, even if every purist out there speaks highly of him and for very much well deserved, I unfortunately believe the purist, anybody that could even put themselves in that class, is less than 10% of the overall fan base.
Okay.
And because of that, he puts himself at a very interesting position, especially when it comes to leaving it up to the writers to vote him into the Hall of Fame. Because again, is 16 points a game enough?
So hold on.
Say that you're deserving. To my knowledge, it comes down to accolades.
Hold on. So you're saying, okay, again, and I'm gonna say the same thing for the writers. If the writers got any type of wherewithal, then he might not be first ballot or whatever it is, but it ain't gonna be 30 years before he get in, or God forbid, posthumously or whatnot. Because on the flip side, Danny Ferry got a championship ring. You get what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure he got halfway, whatever numbers. Man, he got a ring, and who remembers him? Other than me, maybe, because he used to play with the Cavs. And the Cavs got rid of around anyway. I'm just saying. It's a lot of guys that got
rings and championships.
Huh?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I think
it's not about just the rings by themselves, though. The reason why the rings come in because it's the other stuff that come with it. You know what I mean? It's supposed to anyway. For like with the Jordan and the Russell and all that kind of stuff. You go look up them guys' resumes. In addition to the rings, Jordan got Defensive Player of the Year how many times? Was a how many time All-Star and a bona fide superstar and his globability. See, it's all that other stuff that factor in. Anybody who just, you can't, again, man, that's why when I say when you have these debates or when debates are had, you cannot weigh portions of the evidence to rest your entire case on. You have to give me when I ask people all the time, we're going to have a discussion, whatever the discussion topic is, what are we basing it on? If we're basing it on its entirety, I'm not holding it against Vince that he don't have no ring. We don't hold it against Reggie Miller. And again, the flip side of that argument is...
But there should be, at some point in that discussion, depending on, again, to your point, depending on what we're discussing, at some point in that discussion, it is warranted or merited whether a guy was a contributor won a ring, and how much was his contribution to the overall winning of that ring? You know what I mean? Big Shot Rob is called that clearly because for his career, I think he averaged 7 points a game, but his nickname deserves mention on why we consider him, a clutch player. And those few little points, or those timely baskets that ultimately saved series at Sacramento, are the reason why he got those titles.
Okay, so let me ask you this then.
At some point.
So hold on, let me ask you this then. Let's say Vince Carter got the same amount of minutes as a David West, right? But he hit the type of shots that Robert Horry hit. Whose contributions are greater?
You would look at David West. You would look at David West and what he's done, plus those clutch moments, and then you would have if David West had half of Robert Horry's rings with the same number of minutes. It would be easy to consider David West a superior or a greater player historically.
No.
Even if
we talking about contributions.
Uh-huh.
We talking about contributions. We ain't talking about coattails. We talking about contributions.
His contribution would be worth more easily, David West. If he had those numbers plus half of even Robert Horry's title wins, his contributions.
No. Listen.
Certain.
No. David West could have 3 rings and Robert Horry could have 3 rings. But if the 3 rings that Robert Horry got, you directly lead to him hitting the shot that to win his team the championship or send his team to the championship. I'm not discounting David West's contributions. I'm saying if David West had 12 points and 5 rebounds or whatever it is on his championship teams, but none of his, and I'm not devaluing his points. Let's say David West's points came in the third quarter or whatever it is. Okay, that's good. Yeah, okay, when you tally it all up, them points helped us win by 9 or 12 or whatever it is. But we remember Robert Horry, put it like this. Give me a moment.
So if that's the case, who's greater than Robert Horry or Steve Kerr?
Robert Horry.
Why?
Because he had more Steve Kerr-like moments.
He had more Steve Kerr-like moments than Steve Kerr?
You
or was it just the fact that Steve Kerr played with Michael Jordan and Robert Horry didn't?
No.
Because, again, tell me, because their career arc is almost identical.
Okay, that's what I'm.
We don't see a lot of what they've done between.
That's what I'm saying to you. How many
in the first 46 minutes? But we're talking about the clutch shots. So who's better, Robert Horry or Steve Kerr?
Listen, because that's what I'm saying. Give me the moments. Put it like this: if I go back and look at Robert, if you mention Robert Horry gonna be mentioned for what?
Hitting big shots.
Hitting big shots. Not it ain't about. I don't care. We're not gonna talk about how many points. You might talk about that after the fact. But when you look at David West, what's the one thing that jump out like a Robert Horry moment? What's the one thing about David West being on the championship team? What's the one thing that jump out at you like the things that Robert Horry did jump out at you? If you didn't know basketball, you wouldn't know that he was on them teams. You wouldn't know David West was on them teams if you didn't know basketball. You wouldn't know David West was on them teams. And this is not. Listen, I would love David West at Xavier. Was it Xavier? Yeah.
With the New Orleans team.
Huh?
Yeah, he was with New Orleans.
Yeah, listen. No.
They pushed the Spurs to 7 games.
Listen,
in 08.
Listen, I'm not at all.
But Gully, nobody's gonna remember he pushed him and Chris Paul pushed them to 7 games.
No, you don't. You don't remember that. But what I'm telling you, my argument is that while again, this goes back to how Vince Carter phrased guys going to chase titles at a certain stage of their career.
He didn't say certain stage.
Calling that.
Hold on.
No,
Go ahead. Keep going.
Selling your soul. Why is it called selling your soul for a championship? He's not talking about. Remember, think about in context of how he phrased it.
Because it's guys that ain't. Because it's guys that ain't 40 that done did it. Selling your soul for a chip.
No, but that's not what he's talking about.
That's why I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready to read it
That's what he's
again.
talking about. That's where he didn't. That's
I'm
not
getting
what
ready
he
to read
said.
it.
To imply at his age and his stage of his career, the reason why he's not an LA Laker is because at this stage of his career, he'd rather actually have valued minutes, right? And that's why he's not a Laker, or he didn't probably sign with the Bucks. I'm pretty certain if he made himself available, teams like Milwaukee, teams like LA, both LA teams, anybody would have loved to have him. But he valued, to his credit, he valued actually being able to get out there and still play the game.
Okay, so he
play
said
the game and have fun. He valued that. That's fine. My issue with him is criticizing the idea that guys at the same stage or at similar stages of his career decide I want to go where I can win a title.
But wait a minute.
I can contribute as much or less.
Okay, but wait a minute. You're drawing
like
that
David West.
You're drawing that comparison into that in regards that technically that critique. He didn't say no names. When he said,
but I'm saying because the reason why I gave it a name is because if you can identify, see, it's easy to be ambiguous, right? It's like all right, to segue a little bit, it's like the one time when Eminem was being interviewed with Sway, and Sway asked Eminem a question about Eminem's lyrics, and he talked about how people have ghostwriters and people do this, that, and the third, while Eminem considers himself a real lyricist. So Sway put the question back to Eminem. So a lot has been said about the fact that Drake has celebrated as Drake is. Again, we got Drake in this conversation again. Drake is known to have ghostwriters, have people arrange his albums, or have people arrange his hooks and his verses and his choruses. And to the point, he named an example that was specific to what Eminem's critique was, and Eminem did not have a rebuttal that would call out Drake, even though his criticism, when vaguely named, is definitely about Drake. Just like here, what he said, definitely puts a guy like David West as a target or has an example of chasing a ring. David West took the league minimum when he was worth more. That's what made it shocking when he signed with San Antonio to begin with. He took the league minimum at the end of his contract with Indiana to go play for the Spurs. When that didn't work out and he went the next year, he went to Golden State to do the same thing. He took a league minimum and he took whatever they felt like they could give him, which turned out to be quality minutes and quality moments to go and try to win a title. He ring taste. He, quote-unquote, sold his soul per the definition that Vince Carter had. My issue is I don't think that's selling your soul when you've earned enough. And when you've earned enough by trying to contribute, before taking less money than you maybe could have earned, or taking less money than you maybe could have earned, or taking less minutes than you maybe could contribute. I don't think that should be. I don't think that's fair to call that selling your soul, because you've already paid your dues to do that.
That's fair, but in this instance,
you bring up a very good point about the difference in mentalities. That in David West,
and that's where I was getting ready to go.
A very good example of that, but because you're talking about, I've earned this right to be able to do that. I spent how many years did he spend in New Orleans? 6?
A lot. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, a few. A few. Him and Chris Paul were like the franchises. They were the marquee players then.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, we often lose sight on where he was going post. We talked about Sacramento, of course. San Antonio, but we talked about Golden State, where he ultimately got over the hump. But Indiana, in that point in time, was contending during those years.
You talking about before Reggie Miller
and in
right?
Miami, absolutely.
Yeah,
these are the post-decision year.
Yeah, right.
So that decision on his end was already made. But so if Carmelo Anthony would be a very good example. If Carmelo Anthony now were to go to Golden State and to get the ring, would it not completely change the conversation about him? Would it make him a quote-unquote proven winner in his entire career, stemming from Syracuse?
Yeah, but
because he was able to achieve a championship at the highest level, at all of the pivotal stages. So again, the mentality shifts. Okay, I've earned this right. I've paid my dues. Just like you've heard MJ say about passing this invisible torch between these franchises, that I got my behind whooped. And now the league is mine. I have earned that, and I'm going to make the most of it.
Right.
And so where we're getting kind of this gray area that there's no loyalty with the franchises anymore. Jay, you're a huge advocate about bump the franchise, do what's best for you. And I don't disagree with that statement. So is this our new norm? Is Vince Carter the last of the dying breed? And the new norm is what we're seeing with somebody like a LeBron, who is saying, I've paid my dues, at least in their own mind. And now I deserve to win because I've made my money in this league, and my window is running out. And the only way I can get that, that green jacket of the Masters, or have my head enshrined in gold, is if I have this particular ring. That is the final piece. And what concerns me is that, as we've talked about, these stats, I get, Jay, you say it all time and time again. I don't always, that you don't like to reflect back on stats alone. Vince Carter is a very good example of that. The guy has not averaged more than 7 points a game for a season in like 6 years, which means his overall numbers for his career are getting driven down badly. But to the kid that is looking at those stats and saying, I'm comparing him to him, and I'll leave that wide open.
Yep.
That's what's influencing their decision.
When you say,
and if he does not have that, that's who's voting these people in. They can look at because he won a dunk contest, I want to let him in now? That's literally what the conversation is going to consist of. Vince Carter, it does not have a lot of awards outside of as Gully was making the case earlier, that, the Kobe's and the LeBrons, the Jordans, they had the defensive players of the year. They had the MVPs. They had all these other things that came with it. Vince Carter doesn't have that.
So now we're saying
you are really rolling the dice, in my opinion, the longer this goes on, that if you do not have it, you are really jeopardizing your ability to be enshrined in the Hall of Fame.
You know what? I'm just going to go out on a limb here. When a guy will say something to this extent, to this effect, I think that he's just, and this is just me, we're so conditioned to materialism that rare nowadays, that used to be a standard, is the guy or the person who says, you know what, man, I'm just grateful to have had an opportunity to do something that thousands and thousands and thousands of kids wish they could do. Maybe that's more important. Maybe to a Vince Carter, for him to make these comments, maybe the Hall of Fame ain't as important to him as it is to the writers or to some guys who everybody's going to have discussion about. I don't know.
Let me challenge that. Well, let me challenge that. Michael Jordan said the same thing about winning a title. The idea of winning a title was something that thousands of kids wish they could do. He had an opportunity to do it. That's how he had his hunger.
No,
his hunger for winning a title. His hunger for playing and playing. He said it in episode 8.
Listen,
7 or 8.
Listen.
He said
but
about
some kids
playing at the highest level, playing to win the championship.
But before he could ever do that for a championship, he had to want to be in the NBA, right? I'm talking about wanting.
But what the point you're making is the norm. That is what these kids, these thoroughbreds coming through the AAU ranks, have had. You've called it an NBA factory yourself.
I know that. But I'm talking about Vince Carter.
Camp, man.
Listen.
Look at the camp with Blake Griffin, with Devin Booker, and the list goes on.
Okay, but why is it far-fetched Why is it so far-fetched that Vince Carter, those things
getting to the league is not it, Jay. That ain't it.
But why is it so
Something else,
far-fetched
get into the
that what
league and
Vince
get in the
Carter
league.
is saying is out of the realm of possibility? What if all those things that mean something to everybody else don't mean as much to him when he's falling back on, you know what, man, at the end of the day, yeah, his mind, you talking about mentality. Hold on.
That's great.
Hold on.
But
At some point,
Go ahead.
he probably wanted to win a championship like all players do. But when he realized he wasn't going to, he rested or settled on the fact that, you know what, man, I got a chance to do something and do it at a high enough level that some kids will never, ever get a chance to do. And he said that maybe at the end of the day, man, I'm cool with that. If I get in, I get in.
Just don't call the adverse of that selling your soul.
What? Listen, but when he said,
Just don't call the opposite of that selling your soul. That's my problem. Just don't criticize another man's desire to want to have the ability to stay at the best if the NBA is the world's best basketball competition, class for class. At the end of the day, I want to be able to say I was the best of the best. Just don't criticize a guy for trying to go and do that. And then when they get later in their career,
but is David West the only person that you feel like he criticizing?
To go and shot themselves for being a contender because, like Double J is saying, you know, in the end of it all, and I think to your point, the unfortunate part about it is winning a title means a lot more than perhaps maybe, I guess the argument, winning a title or having a title means a lot more than it should. I'm saying don't criticize the fact for somebody wanting to do that, especially if we're talking about above average or good or even great players of their day trying to do that. Like David
But here's
West
what
for
he
his
said,
day.
though.
Like
Okay, but
Juwan
okay.
Howard for his day, like Antoine Walker for his day, like Gary Payton for his day. Don't
Okay, but
criticize
here's
their
what.
pursuit of
But listen.
going to-
But Vince Carter
Yeah.
said, "I'm not going to." He ain't talking about nobody else because at the
Sell
end of the
my
day.
soul.
Okay,
He
listen.
said,
Okay, but let me
"Sell
ask you
my
this then.
soul
Let
for
me ask you this:
championships." I don't
have
like
there
that
been
phrase.
any other players outside of David West, younger than David West, that have jumped ship to go chase rings?
My problem with this, with Vince's statement, is only this, and this pains me to say this. Vince Carter is a 3-time All-Star with 1 dunk championship to his name. Other than that, we're talking about a sportsmanship award and a Player of the Week. That and 16 points, I don't think gets you in the Hall of Fame, which means Vince Carter, as incredible as he was and is, from the time in college all the way to present, for being able to do what he's been able to do at this high level, is going to be forgotten. And I don't think anybody has really told him that yet.
Okay, but guess what though?
And why?
But
Because of what the way he framed it, which is I would have had to sell my soul to get this ring. But is that decision?
But that's not all he
being
said,
forgotten,
though.
knowing in 3 to 5 years, I'm sorry, Jay, I don't think the youth of this generation is going to say, I aspire to be like Vince Carter. They're not going to.
But here's what I'm saying to you, Vince.
Look at Dominique.
But what
Everybody
Vince is
remembers MJ
bringing
in
to the
that
table is
dunk
more than
contest, but they don't
basketball.
remember Dominique.
It's more than basketball. Listen, at this stage in his career, maybe it's a young dude sitting next to him on the bench who the young dude got a false sense of entitlement. And Vince's experience and his leadership and all those things might weigh in on the young dude and make the young dude turn his life around, make him go harder about getting his game and understanding what it takes to be a professional. Not everybody that seeks it all of a sudden at the end of the day can't go back and say, you know what, I'm just glad to be alive. Maybe it's not so much a knock against David West. All I'm saying to you,
we talk about legacy all the time.
But
we talk about legacy all the time.
Listen, I'm not here. I'm not questioning Vince's legacy though.
We talk about brand ambassador.
I'm not.
Country of Canada.
But I'm not. Listen, I'm not questioning Vince's legacy. It's not a question of his legacy to me. What I'm saying is, what Vince said in and of itself. Okay, to your point, Gully. If he's talking about David West, maybe he shouldn't say that about David West. But if he's talking about other guys that ain't David West, then maybe he should. Because not in every case or what he's saying is applicable to everybody. Because the flip side of that is, okay, Danny Ferry got a championship ring. Do you remember Danny Ferry? Who remembers Danny Ferry?
No, but guess what? Here's the difference.
Danny Ferry isn't in Vince Carter's class.
And that's the disappointing part is Danny Ferry.
So whoa. Danny Ferry is better than Vince Carter?
What'd you say?
Danny Ferry is better than Vince Carter?
I need you to put down whatever Kool-Aid you got next to your stand if you think that's what you thought I said.
Well, that's why I'm asking you to clarify it. I don't drink Kool-Aid. I drink water. I drink water.
Give him back his drink.
Yeah, get that back.
I drink water. That's why I asked the question.
The point is, I think you know what, you and I, Double J, we probably have a little bit of a departure. You and I are walking along the same street, but I'm gonna go left where you're gonna go right at this point. I'm not certain that it really matters as much to Vince Carter whether he makes it to the Hall of Fame or not. And certainly guys who perhaps maybe, if not for having been on an NBA championship team, probably wouldn't get Hall of Fame consideration. Like like maybe Danny Ferry might get in the Hall of Fame. I doubt it, but maybe he might. You know what I'm saying? Steve Kerr might. Other guys like for example, two-time champion Pau Gasol. It might be arguable, and people say he probably is only going to get in because he got those 2 titles with the Lakers. I don't know that Hall of Fame contention and being honored and being remembered in that way is what Vince Carter is even seeking. And again, because go ahead. Yeah.
You're saying that what he contributed on the floor is going to speak high enough that despite the fact that he has no ring, we're going to put him in regardless.
He might make it. He's a guy that might make it.
Hey, listen.
Yes.
Listen, the way hold on. The way you said this is the new norm, the new norm is now to give out championship rings to people who don't even play on championship teams. So why not put him in? If it's the new norm, let that be a part of the new norm. Giving guys who are consummate professionals throughout their career, giving them a nod to the Hall of Fame. Why not? If it's the new norm,
he might get indicted. He might get inducted into Canada. He might have his jersey retired with the Raptors and things like that. But he's going to be one of those forgotten greats.
Well,
that pains me to a whole nother level because he absolutely deserves to be enshrined.
Well,
because he was that good.
Well, all I can say is Danny Ferry will be forgotten too, and he got a ring.
A game and a 2-time All-Star. That's not enough. Is that really enough? Are we giving Hall of Fame? Are we letting somebody in the Hall of Fame for 16 points a game?
Well, it wasn't.
I don't think so.
The question wasn't Hall of Fame for me. I don't know. I couldn't say if a guy is Hall of Fame or not. Not at this juncture, because there's a lot of guys I can say that for. But let me preface what he said. He's saying this. He's basically, before he said that quote, "I'm not going to sell my soul." He's and he said it more than once here too in this article. He's just pointing out that he's not a guy who at this stage wants to simply sit. He wants to contribute at a high level. Okay, he wants to contribute at a high level. Oh, no, I ain't even say a high level. He wants his contributions to be more than just like for instance with the Hawks. What are his contributions with the Hawks? Can anybody sum it up for me? Because last season he had a couple, 25, 30-point games, had a couple. Is he a significant piece for the Hawks?
No.
He's not a significant piece for the Hawks?
Not at all. That's Trae Young's team. I would think John Collins.
No, I don't. Yeah, no.
Has a bigger impact from the Hawks.
No. I'm not. I know whose team it is. I know it's Trae Young's team. I'm saying what was Vince's impact? Maybe what was Vince's impact so far with the Hawks? As far as maybe
that's my point here. That's where I'm going with all of this is that he really hasn't.
Okay, he hasn't in terms of what? In terms of points?
A journeyman who's played for 4 decades.
Exactly.
That's really it at this point.
So his impact is unless that's what I'm saying. His impact is only surmised, is only broken down in how many in terms of points.
What can we say? He's a great teammate. I don't know what you're looking for here.
What I'm saying at the end of the day,
that's where I was going with all of this as to why.
Right.
He's not playing a significant role on the Hawks for him to kind of make this argument null and void.
No, because I'm saying that to say something else.
He would be doing the same thing.
I'm saying that to say something else. Is he still competing?
That's
yes, he's still competing.
I watched him twice this year. And gave him the standing ovation that he deserved. But it seemed like they were parading him around. It did not seem like he was put in at any pivotal moment in the game, to your point, to change the flow of the particular game. He was put in as a model, as a doll, to say, wow, ooh, look at me, I can still do it. And that's why I disagree ultimately with his statement, because I feel like it's an injustice to himself and his career because of the nature in which he's being used today. And
so he should just retire? All the man said was...
Not at all. I would say he should, quote unquote, sell his soul at this point, because you know what? It didn't matter. Again, I will reiterate this. Does not matter what roster he is on. He would be doing the exact same thing. And that's why I keep stressing what he has done throughout his NBA career, statistically speaking, is not enough to say, absolutely, we're going to put this guy in the Hall of Fame. Unless all of a sudden his impact on the global economy with what he was able to do for the game of basketball in the country of Canada is highlighted. That would be one of his one of his accolades.
Okay, so Tracy McGrady is in. Tracy McGrady got eye-popping numbers.
They're almost identical, and they're related.
Tracy McGrady's in the Hall of Fame, right?
Yes, but Tracy McGrady retired before what Vince is doing. He took a very different route.
Okay, that's fine. He may have retired beforehand, but that's why I asked you: are Tracy McGrady's what are Tracy McGrady's claims to fame and being in the Hall of Fame? What is it in Tracy McGrady's resume that really justifies him being in the Hall of Fame? And I'm asking literally because I don't know. Matter of fact, in their days in Toronto, you got
that 8-year run.
We'll start there. He's a 2-time scoring champion.
Okay.
So remember the differences here. I said Vince, he's a 7-time All-Star. Vince, 2, maybe 3.
Okay.
Most improved player.
Tracy McGrady.
Talk about that player of the week, 1 time versus 12 times.
Okay.
All NBA first team, twice. All NBA second team, 3 times. All NBA third team, twice. Vince doesn't have any of those.
Again,
this is not apples to apples.
No, I'm not. It's not. I wasn't making it apples to apples. I'm saying I asked, what is it? So all of that, whatever McGrady has, you think that all of that is what is that justifies him being in the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely, because it's not championship rings. As you pointed out, some of the differences here, they had the rings, but they had everything else.
Well, Hall of Fame, based on Hall of Fame criterion, wouldn't you say that's paltry? Not compared to Vince Carter. I'm saying Tracy McGrady alone. Based on what Hall of Fame criteria is and might supposed to be, that's still paltry. Tracy McGrady's resume may have more than Vince Carter's, but it's Hall of Fame paltry.
What are you saying?
I'm saying.
What are you suggesting?
I'm saying that Hall of Fame, All-Star votes, and things of those natures, whatever it is that come down, a lot of it is biased anyway. That's what I'm trying to say. Whatever
Right, so who, Jay? He played for Toronto and Orlando the majority of his career. These aren't big markets. He wasn't a Laker.
No,
or
you're
a
not.
Knick.
I'm saying. Okay.
Come
no,
on.
I'm not. Listen. I'm saying what we think a guy should or shouldn't get into the Hall of Fame on is really it don't even weigh, because you look at a guy like Terrell Owens, for instance. It was guys that went in the Hall of Fame before him that shouldn't even sniff the Hall of Fame. So the people who put these guys in, like
Right,
I'm
but why?
I'm saying the same thing.
This
I'm
is
saying
what
the
I'm
same
holding
thing
it
about
on.
Hall of Fame voting as I am about the Heisman Trophy. It is not as coveted, or it is not it literally what they put you in on, or they give it to you for what it's supposed to be based on. Guys, it's a lot of guys, not all of them, but it's a lot of guys probably in the Hall of Fame. If we go back and really do a Hall of Fame homework assignment, you'll probably find a lot of guys to be like, how he get in? How he get in? How he get in? Come on, man. For the same reason why Pete Rose ain't in. It's bias. These writers and these people, listen, I tell you what.
But we know that.
Okay, so
If
that's
no
why
fact,
Vince Carter
you
got a
know
good
that
chance of
going
getting in.
Don't
He'll
you
get in more so or
conform
less
there?
because of somebody like him as opposed to what he ain't got. That's really what it come down to nowadays. And when it comes to Hall of Fame voting and
Jay,
voting on anything, whether they
that-
not like you or not.
Then why did Kevin Garnett go to Boston?
Because
Why did Kevin
Kobe didn't
Garnett
want him in
care
L.A.
so much about that ring.
Because Kobe didn't
despite
want him in
how
L.A.
Dominant.
Kobe didn't want him in L.A.
The T-Wolves wanted to rebuild, and he wasn't interested in the process, and he wanted to play for a title. Boston gave the T-Wolves
Yeah, he wanted
all
to play
coach.
for a title. Thank you,
Yeah.
Tully. He wanted to play for a title. He wanted to win.
So he effectively sold his soul.
Listen. At
And
the
that's
end,
the problem with the language.
Listen.
That's the problem with the language.
no, listen.
Yeah,
what
of
I'm
course,
what I'm saying is,
because he
I
was Vince
never
Carter
said
still
Vince
had
Carter.
value. Vince Carter continues, he still has some type of value, still has a desire to play. He could have went to Cleveland for that matter. Why didn't he?
Listen, I'm not saying that Garnett didn't or did or not sell his soul or whatever the case may be, or how he went to Boston or whatever the case may be. All I'm saying is Vince in this case is saying, he's talking about him. He said, I'm not going to sell my soul. Somebody else might not feel like they selling their soul, but he feel like that's what it is. He feel like he's selling his soul. So if he feels like
he's making an assessment, if he feels like that's selling his soul, there's got to be an assessment on what he think other players have did. If that's selling his soul to him, and somebody's done what he's done, how can you not say, well, how do you not think that that's selling my soul?
Hey, Tully, doesn't that sound like he's bitter?
No.
Somebody make the case that Vince Carter's bitter, that they
No.
went and they won, which means they're going to get in. They're going to be remembered. At the very least, they're going to get that free invite and the free food to the 19 whatever championship team, and he's never going to get that level of respect because of the choice that he made. Couldn't somebody argue that point, that he sounds bitter, that he made the wrong choices, and that he understands that now he is running the risk, to my point earlier, that he is going to very much be forgotten and is very much in jeopardy of ever being, not, he'll be considered, but of ever getting into the Hall of Fame.
Listen.
If Vince Carter gets into the Hall of Fame, again, I think it's deserving, but it would have been a whole lot easier. There would have been no question if he had one ring.
But no contribution. So and again, based on that
Absolutely.
right there, so you think Danny Ferry gonna get into the Hall of Fame? Danny Ferry, you think Danny Ferry gonna get into the Hall of Fame?
No, but Danny Ferry's going to get free lunch from anywhere in San Antonio
Okay.
because of him being remembered from that championship team.
Okay.
You think in 20 years they're going to remember? Why would I remember Vince Carter 20 years from now?
Listen,
His dunk contest.
if
That is really it. That is it.
Listen, if nothing else, the guy, you call him a journeyman, But we give everybody else credit for playing in the league for 100 years. That's what I'm saying to you. You talk about Hall of Fame.
We're not letting them in the Hall of Fame for playing for 100 years.
Yeah, but we letting guys in the Hall of Fame. Listen, that's what I'm trying to tell you. But guys that should be in the Hall of Fame are not in the Hall of Fame. And it ain't got nothing to do, again, I know it's football, but it was no reason why.
No, they lack.
It was no reason why Terrell Owens shouldn't have been in the Hall of Fame.
They were not great.
Okay.
They were good. They weren't great.
Okay. So if
and again, this is the Tracy McGrady versus Vince Carter.
Okay.
You see the difference.
Yeah, you might see the difference between McGrady and Vince Carter, but you mean to tell me when Tracy McGrady got elected to the Hall of Fame, there were no questions as to how he got in? Yes. It was questions.
There were some.
Listen, all it takes is one.
Jay, he was an all-star so many times.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, again.
7 years.
I'm not saying that guys are. I'm not saying.
Expect these guys to play here.
No, I'm not saying that the guys' accolades don't mean anything. But I'm saying when it comes to Hall of Fame voters, all of them across the board, what weighs more than the accolades of whether or not if they like you. Because if everything you're saying, if the resume,
no,
then I just made the case for Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens should have been in the Hall of Fame before.
Did he or did he not get in? Did he or did he not get in?
Listen, did he get in when he was supposed to go in?
Why does it matter? He got in.
Listen, because what I'm trying to tell you. This is what I'm trying.
You see, to me,
No. You can let me finish. Let me finish. I'm about to tell.
He made it a point.
I'm about to tell you why.
He didn't invite me soon enough. That's like somebody. That's like you gotta. For what it's worth, you have an issue. You had a contentious issue with somebody. Okay, you say, hey, listen. You know what? Me and you ain't always got along, but you know what? After time to reconsider. Hey, man, I'm going to let you go ahead and come to the cookout. Well, you should have invited me first because you knew that I...
No, it's not... No, Okay, let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. No, let me put it this way. Let me say it this way. Double J said he don't have enough. Hold on. No. Double J said he don't have enough. Okay? When it came time for Terrell Owens to be eligible for the Hall of Fame, did he have enough? When it was the very first time, I'm sorry, Brother Rich. Okay. So listen, Terrell Owens had more than enough. Hold on, Terrell Owens had more than enough. Why didn't he get in when he should have got in?
Why? Because he was Tracy McGrady in this example. He had everything else. He had the numbers. He had the accolades.
So you telling me McGrady's what McGrady had
wasn't like.
So what McGrady has is enough. That's what McGrady has is all you need to get in this make you Hall of Fame worthy.
Jay, he's matching. He best his cousin in this example. He would be superior to his cousin.
I'm not saying the rings are irrelevant. What I'm saying is, if everything
T-Mac has no ring,
even if everything was an exact, then everybody who had who fulfilled or met the criterion, regardless of sport, would have got in when they should have got in. If it's all about what you got, it has to be that. I'm not saying that doesn't weigh anything. But it don't weigh enough.
There's a point value, in my opinion. There's a point value here.
But it has to weigh enough.
It's not a guarantee to get in.
What's not a guarantee?
But it gets you into the conversation.
What's not a guarantee?
Having a ring does not automatically get you in. But if you have a ring, it makes it that much easier.
Oh, that's not what. Well, that's obvious. Well, of course. Who would disagree with that? I can't disagree with that. All I'm saying is.
But how many Hall of Famers are you seeing these days that don't have that? You pointed to T.O. and you explained his wait time. despite the accolades.
That's all I was making the point at.
We're trying to make here.
I
Is
don't.
that, look, just because the simple fact you don't have that, you never reached the highest of highs in the respective fields that you're supposedly superior at, or at least at one point in time were. And if you don't have anything else that really says that you really were that guy, I mean, we're.
I still say that don't mean that you won't get in. I still say
winner?
that doesn't mean that you won't get in. Is my point. That's my point. Thank you. You know, he might not have what Tracy McGrady got, but even not having what Tracy McGrady got does not mean that he won't get in. Because if not having what Tracy McGrady got, say that again.
I want to weigh in on.
Go ahead.
I think that this is pretty much this. I believe this is a moot point, and that I believe that Vince Carter gets in for a myriad of reasons, not the least of which what he did in Toronto and helping to put that franchise virtually on the map. The fact that, in fact, it did happen that T-Mac went ahead and boosted it, because we were introduced to T-Mac because of Vince Carter, like
right.
you all know. But he boosted T-Mac. His career took off in another direction. Vince kind of plateaued out, and he became known for more of what he was doing in slam dunk contests and things like that. His athleticism, more than being that guy that could put a team on his back and get him over the hump. No doubt about that.
Did he win gold with the Olympics?
The other thing is that but that wasn't. This is, and I was kind of reserving these comments for the next segment, closing segment about the GOAT, because at the end of the day, what I think we're talking about is there is an element of apples and oranges. It's called the Hall of Fame. And, you know, there's even in the Hall of Fame, there are going to be people that made the Hall of Fame that should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame. He comes to mind just because of when I watched him as a basketball player, his work ethic was such that I thought that to me, he should be in the Hall of Fame. Bernard King. But is he going to be in the Hall of Fame? Is he going to get the kind of look, see? Yeah, I think there's another conversation to be had about Hall of Fame, that what are they really? Because Hall of Fame, just like Jay is telling us, you really are telling us the truth, Jay. So we do have to be honest about that. That in the modern Hall of Fame, and in what we know about the Hall of Fame today,
it's popularity.
Political foolishness. Yeah, it's popularity.
Thank you. It's popularity.
It's a popularity contest. It's whether the writers like you. We know for a fact that they denied T.O. because they didn't like him. We know it was politics with the NFL and how some people viewed him. So that's neither here nor there. But there is a conversation to be said about this, and this is where I want to close out on, which is when we talk about the coach. There's something to be said about when I heard you all talking about the difference between Steve Kerr and Big Shot Bob. Now, those are light players. You can discuss that. Even if you want to talk about David West and more Vince Carter, but Vince Carter at a certain point had to accept that I'm not Kobe Bryant. I'm not Michael Jordan. I don't have it like that. I'm not going to get it like that. So he decides to do it his way in how he's doing it. Now, I'm not going to go revisit the comments. I think all of you all have done wonderful with looking at that. I'm talking now in particular about when you win this ring. When you win this ring, and I think what all of us are looking at with this documentary is that those rings that man got, those 6 rings, we can see why he got 6 rings, why he got 6 finals MVP, and why he got league MVP. Because when it came to doing that thing of basketball, and I'm going to win this ring, his ultimate goal, I'm climbing this mountain. And for him, in his prime, it was all about winning rings. When you are out of your prime, and it might be about getting your money, making sure you got your last big contract, but in the prime of their careers, the best of them, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing, it was about getting rings. And that's why we look at Charles Barkley the way we look at him. Because as great as he was in his prime, he's one of those athletes in his prime. He did not get that ultimate ring. Nobody's mad at Judd Bushley if he didn't get a ring. Nobody's mad
Right.
at this
Yeah.
one and that one if they didn't get a ring.
Yeah.
But when you look at the greats of the day, you say, man, Patrick Ewing, man, for us growing up as Knicks fans, oh, man, we wanted Patrick Ewing to get a ring. He didn't get a ring. And
Yeah.
they always tell us all the time, yeah, Knicks were good, but, man, he didn't get a ring. What do you talk about championship cities for if rings don't matter, ultimately? And when you remember that ring or that championship, you remember that player or those particular players in football that led you
True.
to it. And in the
True.
NBA context, in the NBA landscape, what we remember about those rings was it was Jordan and the Jordanaires. Michael Jordan is coming to town. Michael Jordan, we facing Jordan tonight because we knew that it was personal to him. He wanted to get that ring, and he would do whatever he could to get it.
And he did. And I appreciate you, Brother Rich, for segueing us right into our last topic for the day. If you're up and around, you're out and about, and you want to give us a shout, that number to call is area code 267-687-0026. Once again, that number to call is area code 267-687-0026. And we are powered by none other than my cats and the folks over, the fine folks, I should say, over at Rocket Digital. All right, let's talk about The Last Dance, episodes 7, or part 7 and 8. I wrote down a few, and I appreciate you all not spoiling it for me, because I work on Sundays and I do not get to see them. Well, I got to see the first 4 episodes when they first aired because I was out at the time and whatnot, and I was so glad for that. But after that, I've been working Sundays, so I don't get to see them when they go live. I have to record them. And I have been running away from people who want to say, man, did you see The Last Dance, man? I don't want to talk about it. I don't even get on Facebook, really. I don't want to see anything because you all, I'm glad you all didn't. But other people have been trying to spoil my viewing of The Last Dance that I've recorded. So I want to thank you, gentlemen, for not spoiling that, all right? I wish I could say thank you for not mentioning the Cowboys, but, hey, I'm going to keep hope alive. All right. So one of the few things that I pointed out, and Vince Carter being Hall of Fame, by the way, Double J. Book it. And then Pete Rose, too, and Terrell Owens should have got in. Oh, my man, we're talking about the Bulls. Okay. One of the few things that I pointed out, or that stood out to me, in episode 7, then there's one thing in particular that stood out to me in episode 8, or part 8, excuse me. So, of course, we'll start with part 7. When it first came on, you see the picture of Krause at a press conference, right? And Craig Sager, may he rest in peace, asked him a question. Here's what Sager said to Krause. Are you surprised that the team has stayed together and the chemistry has been that good with all the backstabbing between you and coach and everything else? If you paid attention in that moment, Krause didn't immediately respond. He kind of smirked, a slight smirk, like, and then he said, first of all, there is no backstabbing. Let me stop right there, just right there for a minute. I'm so glad. We done already discussed so far what Jerry Krause was to the Bulls and building the Bulls, and we asked the question, is he also responsible for dismantling the Bulls or the Bulls breaking up, the Beatles or whatever? Yes. But make no mistake, our discussions prior about Jerry Krause were not to defame or slander or anything of that nature. Krause get a tip of the cap because he put that squad together. Coming from what he came from, I forget, he was a scout or something, I think Double J mentioned or whatnot. For him to put that squad together that will probably go down as probably, especially that 72-10 season, as one of the best ever and all that old good kind of stuff, you can't not look at the Bulls in those days and not follow the trail back to Krause. So he get mad respect for what the moves he done made. And with, again, no disrespect to Mr. Sager, I thought it was very, very disrespectful for him to use that word in particular. This is why we emphasized verbiage here. He could have used anything. He could have said it any other way. But to use backstabbing at that time, I particularly don't see where it was backstabbing. Krause came out, ripped, and told Phil and them cats, look, man, this is it. I don't care if y'all go 82-0. So for him to frame it like that, backstabbing, I thought that was crass. And I understand now, well, that's, to me, pointed out why the media get the backlash that they do from players and such, the Russell Westbrooks and so on and so forth, and why we have to go on this program and talk about reporters talking about some just shut up and dribble, and all that kind of stuff. You get what I'm trying to tell you, and why, players are seen as commodities and so on and so on and so on and so forth. I thought Sega was dead wrong, and I'm glad Krause responded because there's no backstabbing. Did you, Brother Rich, Double J, throughout this documentary so far, and from what you remembered from the Jordan days in the front office and so on and so forth, you, of course, were a little closer, Brother Rich, being that you was connected with them in Chicago or whatnot. But at the end of the day, was it any? Do you see this as Did you see that as backstabbing on Krause's part?
Well, I beg to differ. I think there was some backstab. And here's his issue. Here's what he was speaking into, which is why he could use that kind of vulgar language. He could use it because, in fact, and indeed, there was in the organization, Krause's people, Jordan's people, this one's people, everybody's telling the media, and this is what part of what we're learning in the documentary. Everybody's telling the media their separate story. And all these players and teams do this. And the media plays them, as we well know, against one another. And so they happen to, Craig Sager, peace be upon him, he happened to know that there was a lot of infighting going on. And he chose to use the word that the media would use in order to make it more salacious, but with all the backstabbing. And he wasn't ambiguous about who he was pointing it out to, is that between you and the coach. Mm-hmm. Because they understood that there was a very big divide between the team, the coach, and the management. And that there was, in fact, a lot of quote-unquote backstabbing in the proverbial contextual use of it. They're talking behind each other's back about what everybody knows is public. You and your wife have a problem. Everybody knows, but people start talking about your business. What she tell you? Oh, let me tell you what she did. Okay, well, you see, and so rather than work it out, rather than come in and close the door and work it out as they should have with one another, they decided to tell other people and quote-unquote backstab. And so Craig Sager decided to use that word. But I agree with you in the weight of it, that it was heavy and it caused more problems. I'm sure it fed more fuel to the fire. I'm sure it did.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad you used the term infighting. That would have been better in that instance. That would have been better in that instance. Seeing how I've been on this other side of the table before, and I've sat in them rooms, like I told you, off air, Brother Rich, when, the Browns had Lee Suggs and William Green and such, and they used to do their post-game stuff out at Dave and Buster's. I was in there, and I know how, here recently, some of Tony Grossi's comments that he made about Baker being a midget and so on and so forth. It's just, the media, they have the power of the pen, right? And we know the expression, the pen is mightier than the sword.
Have they fired that guy yet, or you don't know?
Did they do what
Have
now?
They fired that Tony Grossi guy?
No. He back in the
Dallas,
saddle.
Y'all don't know what's happening. I'm saying, but you're not back in Dallas.
He's back in the saddle in Cleveland. I don't know nothing about Dallas, man. Anywho, I wish he would have used the term infighting. When they use those words, like you said, salacious or to incite, okay? If you want to get the kind of response or elicit the kind of response you're looking for, then you with the power of the pen got to know how to put words to the paper in order to get the type of response you're looking for. And they do that, but the kind of responses that most of them looking for are the ones to incite. He should have used infighting. That would have been a whole lot better, because at the end of the day, if you notice, towards the end, right before that episode really started going, it was some other journalist in the background after Krause got up and left and said, "Way to go, Craig." So Craig messed it up for everybody.
Sure did.
Craig messed it up for everybody. Didn't nobody get to ask no questions. You think they were happy with Craig that day? I don't think so. Double J, what say you?
Well, it just goes to show that, a future Hall of Famer was still
Oh, you gonna emphasize that, huh?
Yeah.
You gonna put emphasis on that. You hear how he did it, Brother Rich? That's how y'all do it down in Dallas. Go ahead. What'd you say, Double J? A future Hall of Famer. You talking about Pete Rose? Stop it. You were saying?
Well, again, ultimately here, it showed that these guys, look, we're all human. I do feel like, as Brother Rich pointed out, that, the best organizations, and you would have expected that from the Bulls on the first point, would have been, should have been maybe, the best at handling things internally. It's kind of set a model for other organizations in the future, regardless of sport. But even from a broadcasting standpoint, yeah, you can, it only takes that one bad apple or that one bad question in this case, that even somebody as great as Craig Sager is and was can tick somebody off.
Yeah, tick off indeed. I also wanted to mention, too, throughout and maybe this is something I realized more so having watched the documentary so far up to this point, as opposed to when I did, watching the Bulls when they were beating the Cavs, the shot, and all of the other stuff. You might as well throw the drive and the fumble in there, too. That his father and his mother as well, but his father, that was his they were truly his foundation, man.
Right.
The relationship with his father only goes to show that fathers do indeed matter. And I wanted to point that out because that's not said enough, not just on this program, but throughout society as a whole. Fathers, those who are vested especially, do not get enough credit, or the credit that they deserve, or that we deserve, I believe, as we should every day, all day, like anybody else get the credit and everything else they giving credit to any day and every day as well, if that makes any sense. I really, really thought that was something very, very, it's just something that stood out to me, man, that the relationship that he had with his father, that was the nucleus that was Michael Jordan, in my estimation. And again, I want to reiterate, fathers do indeed matter. Not daddies, not donors, but fathers. So give a tip of the hat and a salute to all of the fathers out there who matter, and to my co-hosts, Brother Rich and Double J, even though they was down Jerry's way. Double J, did Jordan's relationship with his father so far, is that something that stood out to you?
You can't ignore it. Starting from his youth, fighting for attention, to him speaking on his son's behalf on issues that would arise and hot topics, if you will. Basically, again, that father-son bond, both the friendship as well as maintaining, being that confidant. Who you go for advice for. That was displayed on multiple occasions, even in these late episodes. Then, of course, kind of being capped off with the Father's Day victory for the title. And you could feel, despite all this time, you could feel the pain and anguish after the win, after the victory. You would think that, he had climbed the mountaintop yet again, but that one person was missing, who had previously always been there. And that void was felt, I think, by any viewer. When you seen him crying on,
I was getting ready to mention that too. I had never seen that before. I saw the, when they won that year, they showed the pictures of him laying on the floor or whatever, but I didn't know that he was crying in that moment until I saw it the other day on part 8 or whatever. Was it part 8 or was that part 7 still? I don't know. But when I saw the documentary the other day, that kind of, I was like, wow, I didn't know that, man. And you could, you could tell, man, he was letting it all out too. You know, that wasn't for the cameras, if you would. You know what I mean? It wasn't like the Young and the Restless would.
Exactly. The pitcher left it up to the viewer, but that video made it very clear that was not tears of excitement and being overjoyed for reaching the mountaintop yet again. It was pain.
Okay, so then in that instance, Brother Rich, before you answer, kind of remember what I asked here firstly or whatever. I want to throw in this. We understand, again, fathers do indeed matter. And maybe I'm reaching a bit here with this next thing I wrote, but I'm got to ask you all this. Connie Chung, and maybe it's the journalist in me or whatever, but I noticed, that's why the Craig Sager thing, and what she said after Jordan's father was found murdered. May he rest in peace. Meanwhile, Jordan's murder, talking about senior, father, rather, adds another bitter twist to the dark side of an all-American success story. Now, maybe it's just me, but I found her word choice to be ill-advised. Or maybe, again, I'm just reaching here, Brother Rich. Help me out. Am I seeing something I shouldn't be seeing, or am I looking too much into it?
No, you're not. You're seeing it correctly. It's absolutely
right. Adds another bitter twist to the dark side of an all-American success story. Like what the?
Absolutely, this is the media reaching in and twisting an already terrible, horrible circumstance. And making it more twisted and more perverted and looking for any and deceive they can find.
It's dubious.
And tell the people, see, here you go, here. Yeah, absolutely. And without any fact, just a totally fictional, made-up idea that you just cast aspersions out there in firm resolutions in front of people and then make you want to believe that. This is witchcraft that they practice on television in front of people, and that's exactly what you're talking about. But I think it's important to go back to what you were saying about MJ and his father, because as Double J said, it's hard to miss that throughout the whole theme of this docuseries that we're watching. And one of the things that you see and can learn from that is that it helps us understand why Michael Jordan was and is such a very secure individual, where the elements within himself, where he is a very stern, secure individual, because he had a very good and secure foundation with his parents being wonderful. His mother still with a wonderful human being, and they gave him he had siblings. They gave him a wonderful foundation from which to springboard, and he knew when he went out in the world that he could literally do anything. And so he became that person that all of us looked up to, whether we loved him or not. We respected him, we admired him in many regards, and we're continuing to see that. So I think, yes, we cannot deny that his father and his parents, mother and father, but certainly as we're emphasizing for this particular point, having that father was absolutely, without a doubt, an important element of this development.
Yeah, I'm with you too. Because Chung's comments, to me, sounded eerily similar to, quote unquote, we'll build you up and we'll tear you down. That's what that was. That was part of that. That's what that sounded like to me. But again, like I said, and I don't say this in an arrogant.
Well, they get the comment that the documentarian gets the very former president, our own former President Barack Obama, to admit that on video, that this is what happens. When you achieve a certain level of success and you're an African American, unfortunately, you're held to a higher standard.
Yes.
So when and if any thing that comes across your pathway that they can tie you to, he said it. President Obama says it himself.
Yes.
In the documentary, that him and Oprah and people like Michael Jordan, they're held to a certain standard that any little appearance of malfeasance is taken and looked upon with a microscope, and then we got to find out what's your mother's blood type.
Yeah,
what did you do when you were in kindergarten? You smack your best friend.
Yeah.
That kind of foolishness. You already know what it is. You know that.
Yeah, different strokes for different folks. It's all to the good. Double J, I'm coming at you with this one. I thought so, but I'm asking a question. Do you think the dynamic between Mike and Ahmad Rashad was pretty good?
It was great. because you felt throughout this entire documentary that wherever nearly, if his father was his first point of contact, Ahmad Rashad wasn't very far away. He's been able to echo just about everything that's taken place thus far. I think he deserves a lot of credit here, because many of us remember him for, when it came to the broadcasting side of things during that period of time, and, having an influence similar to Beyond the Inside Stuff, and having a little bit of influence on, particular primetime games and such.
Showing the history of the NBA.
Say that again, Brother Rich.
But it's been
inside. When he said inside stuff, I said greatest basketball show in the history of the NBA. That was a fact.
Oh yeah, that show was. Go ahead. Yeah, show was. This show was. Go ahead, Double J. Yeah, good looking out for pointing that out too, Brother Rich.
But you would have never known. You would have never known, as Brother Rich pointed out, how great of a program that was. That he was spending all of this time with arguably the greatest player with in the sport.
Yeah, man.
And remember, Ahmad Rashad was having dinner with MJ when George Karl walked by and didn't do anything.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Didn't greet him. I mean, just is that coincidence, or does that reiterate that he was? This guy was there in so I want to really highlight his dedication to his own craft.
Yeah.
Because for so many of us that juggle multiple things and try to make the most and leave a legacy of their own.
Whew.
He may have gotten that call and said, hey, I need you in Chicago at this restaurant at this time. Up to you. I'm going to have dinner there anyway, but if you want to come and join me, by all means do so. And he made sure he was there. He was present.
Yeah.
So, I definitely want to tip my cap to him and what he was able to do over that extended period of time, because we're talking years here. So he was able to balance all of that. And I haven't gone as far as to Google his, his family life and any of those things. But I'm sure he had to, that certainly is something that'll swing that pendulum a completely different direction as well. So being able to accomplish all of that cannot be overstated enough, rather.
And for all of you all who don't know, for the folks out there who might not, use Google on a regular, Ahmad Rashad was a pretty darn good wide receiver in the NFL too. Played for the Minnesota Vikings. And I distinctly remember in a game where he beat the Browns on the last second play. Anyway, we got to talk about this too. Why the Browns 8 championships.
Andy was married to Felicia Rashad.
Oh,
don't say his name without saying that part.
Yeah, for sure. My bad. Yes, that
Andy was married to Felicia Rashad.
Yes. I started to go whoop on him for that one. Come here, girl. Let me holler at you. And we're gonna talk about the Browns. Not today, of course, but in one of these upcoming shows we do. We're gonna talk about how come the Browns 8 championships are not recognized by the NFL as not official, but championships.
Double J, you have to throw it in there. Double J, you see that? You have to throw that cut in there. I got to throw some 8 on the Browns in there, because we beat up the Cowboys all the time.
I didn't say.
The listeners ain't even.
I didn't even say nothing. I said we got to talk.
Program.
Oh.
I know.
I didn't say.
He doesn't like when the kettle gets hot, Brother Rich.
Yeah, you got. Oh, that's what it is.
No, listen. Hold on, man. Y'all, just like Jordan, y'all want to use anything and everything I say to motivate y'all, to get y'all psyched up. I didn't say anything. I said we're going to have to talk about at a later date, one of our other shows, how come the NFL don't recognize the Browns championships like they do everybody else's Super Bowls? That's all I'm saying. Now, how could you all find fault in that?
Yeah, like the Cowboys, right?
Oh, man, you got to be – you know what? Yeah, got you. Brother Rich, you just
Or
had
the
to...
NFC East being the toughest division in football, right?
Oh, boy. You're not going to let me lay that down, are you? Yeah, facts, it is. It is. Facts, it is. In another case of ill-advised or ill-timed word choice, let me point out Jerry Reinsdorf. Okay, let me say this. For all of the folks out there who want to give Krause venom for his role he played in the Bulls' demise, half of that, including his full portion, should be given to Reinsdorf, if you ask me. See, he ain't getting enough backlash as far as I'm concerned, okay? We're not going to put this all at Krause's feet, okay? Reinsdorf was real, to me, it was real lightweight snake-like. When Mike decided to retire, he had with his agent, if I'm remembering correctly here, his agent, and he had, and he told Reinsdorf or whatever. Then I guess Reinsdorf hooked up with Krause a little later on because Krause didn't know right out the gate. I guess Krause was at a game. I don't know where Krause was at. But anyway, he said when he got with Krause, in his conversation with him, as he was informing Jerry that Mike had retired, Mike just retired. He didn't say Mike had retired to Krause. Krause was like, what? Reinsdorf said, yeah, Mike just quit. You all seen that part, right? Mike just quit.
Right.
Krause like, he quit? Yeah, he quit. See, no. Double J, if I'm not mistaken, do you think Jordan up to that point had earned the right to be able to say he wanted to retire? Especially after what's coming out in light of all the stuff that's being coming out that we did not otherwise know at the time in regards to why he wanted to retire the first time. Would you consider that to be quitting?
Again, yeah. Well, no, as far as quitting, but I think it reiterates the chaos in at the organizational level. A moment ago I mentioned that how franchises, the good ones at least, try to trend on keeping things quote unquote in house. The Bulls, of course, were not capable of doing so during that time, and as it's been very evident, that was because there was quite a rift. And despite Michael going through everything that he went through, leading into that third championship, when walking away, or at least very much needing that vacation, they did a very poor job of managing that side of things, and that really speaks more so. I know that you mentioned Jerry Reinsdorf, but again, he's the owner. We don't. I know that you're used to Jerry Jones and how he handles the day-to-day operations, but generally speaking, most owners are not that involved.
Oh, well, at least the Cowboys have had one owner in the last 30 years. How many have the Browns had in the last 10 minutes? 30? Anywho.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
No,
Keep going.
Okay, so wait.
Get that heat out your heart.
So in other words, so y'all can take shots at me, but when I shoot back, all of a sudden I'm hating. It's par for the course for me. I'm used to that right now. I'm hating. Anytime anybody else say something, it's just, you just have at it. Barbershop Jay say something, and it's like, oh, yeah, here we go. Throw stones at him. Why? I'm like Paul Revere to y'all.
I would tell you like Rambo.
I'm just curious.
Go ahead, Brother Red.
No, please, don't let him go
go
on.
ahead, Double J.
Yeah, go ahead, Double J.
I was going to say, I just want to know, is the next Gatorade flavor, is it Kettle Red or is it Cowboy Blue?
Well, we know the orange don't have no flavor. Yeah, back at ya. Boom, bam, boombastic. Oh, yeah, by the way, Gully dropped out, said he'd try to get back with us if he could before we get up out of here. And we got probably about another 20, 25 minutes to roll. No, the kettle's not hot. I don't use a kettle on the pot. Stop it. I don't know what I'm talking about. But, yeah, I think that Reinsdorf, owner or no or not, you know what I mean? I get what you're saying he was, but still, he didn't have to use them choice. Well, he had to say quit. You know what I mean? Like, if it was Mike's call, it's Mike's call. My thing is Mike had done enough up to that point. Did he say he wanted to retire? They should have been, okay, retire. Be cool with what you done got so far. Nah, he quit. Oh, so he. Oh, okay. So in other words, would you have been using those types of words? Scathing is what I call it to some degree. If you'd have traded him, oh well, we appreciate what he did for the organization, but it's a mutual thing. Oh yeah, you wouldn't have been using all that venom and all that crap. You know what I mean? Had you been the one to facilitate everything, but Mike decided he wanted to. Now he quitting. I just don't like the picture they was trying to paint in that situation. No, he was retiring, man. He was retiring. The dude was fed up, man. I mean,
But if
Go ahead.
you bring up an interesting point about being traded. Scotty had no problem demanding that. Michael arguably deserved to say that he wanted to play for another organization, but yet he never did.
Yeah, well.
Does that speak more to the mentality of that time, being the Birds, the Magic? And
I don't know, because I heard Dame Lillard say the same
playing
thing, though,
for
similar.
one franchise, or because again, if anything, even first and foremost, if that were to happen today, it would have never gotten as far as it did.
What do you mean? What would have happened today?
That ship would have sailed years beforehand.
What do you mean if
the
that would have
minute
happened
they
today?
had won Title I? Oh, Mike would have left. Mike would have the person that quote unquote star who had a championship ring with that franchise that had that much turmoil.
Oh yeah.
With the front office,
yeah.
would have already taken off.
Yeah.
But what's not being talked about enough is why did he stay? Why was it so important to him? And maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. This question has, to my knowledge, is yet to been asked. Why, despite all of that happening, did he decide to? He never once brought up trade.
I don't know. That's a good question.
He retired before he could say trade.
Yeah, that's a good question. But that's a question for you, Brother Rich, if you don't mind trying to weigh in on that, because you were right there on the scene with them cats back in Chicago. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna keep throwing your name out there. I know you was a heavy hitter back in them days. Them folks doing their thing and whatnot.
Stop all that.
Huh?
But what element of the question are you asking me? What question out of all
Why
that?
Why do you think?
Thinking the question for me.
Go ahead, Double J. Shoot it to Brother Rich.
With all of that turmoil in the front office, despite the success, and we're saying before the third championship, at the very least, after Title III, rather than retiring, why didn't Michael ask to be traded the way that Scotty later would ask to be traded?
Because Michael really was, like you said. Huh? Because Michael really
just
was.
Briefly.
He really was tired of that. He really was. He was tired of that stuff. And that stuff, remember now what they were putting out at that time, and it's still out here today, that his gambling had something to do with taking away his father from him. That was the closest person to him in his life. Then you had the stuff that he knew was going on in the franchise. All that stuff really was exactly as he said. He used the word double dot. Jay said, not that wasn't a good word. We agree, but he used the word backstabbing because that was true. That was true. And the fact that there was a lot of turmoil going on. The media was beginning to turn on him. They'd begun to investigate him with his off-the-court gambling habits. That was beginning to become more and more of a story. They were beginning to look into elements of his personal life. His domestic life was kind of going through something at that time. So there were a lot of different things that he didn't want to be a part of anymore. And, of course, with the unfortunate circumstance with his father happening in July of that year, that just put a top on it.
Yeah.
And firm finalized his decision that now it was time to step out.
Yeah.
Get away from that.
I think so, too.
Well, why did he never leave? Why would, despite all of that,
could have been his upbringing.
He had nothing more to prove, and he owed nothing.
No, because
the city of Chicago, to Jerry
Reinsdorf,
Jerry Krause.
Yeah, but remember what he's saying. This is the league. This is not the league in today. This is the player. Even though he's Michael Jordan, this is not the NBA of today. Where yes, Michael Jordan was a powerful person in the NBA. He was a powerful person with the NBA, but he was not a powerful person in terms of a player. And as much as we know that to be the case today, players did not have that kind of power within the franchise, the framework of the franchise. And remember, we're getting a peek now that Michael's whole focus was on, as long as they leave me alone, we play basketball. Yes, there was some internal, but like at any job, I'm at my job, I hate the people I work for, but I love my job. I love where I do my job. I love the people I work with, and I'm a hard worker. I get it done, and we finna do this. We can win this title, but I don't necessarily like the people I work for. And as long as that guy don't say nothing to me, I'm good. But don't come over here and sit under me. Now, you can mess, because Jerry, for all you see and all we're seeing in the documentary, he was making other kind of moves, but he wasn't messing with Michael Jordan. At the end of the day, when they finally won 6 titles, he decides to say, look, I don't care what y'all do. Anybody can leave. But during that first run, he really he couldn't touch Michael Jordan, but he could make the circumstances around Michael more troublesome. He could trade his boy. He could get rid of this one, make moves, and do the things that make him know, like, I am your boss. I run things here. And even though I can't get rid of you and I really can't do anything to you, but I can make life difficult for you. And that is exactly what he did. And I'm telling you, this is the part that perhaps you're alluding to, that I may know some of. There are people that know that there were other things going on off the court with Michael. This is public knowledge that his first marriage ended in divorce. So those are the kinds of things that were going on off the court that were also giving him that, all the attention, all the autograph seeking, the things that we're being privy to now in the documentary.
Yeah,
there was a lot going on, a whole lot. And the NBA wasn't like today. The NBA today would just say, "Look, I'm out of here. Trade me to the Knicks. I'm going to the Knicks, I won't." Today you could do that, but no.
And you know what, too? It probably could have been a little bit of a pride thing, too, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Back then, guys they stuck it out, so to speak. You know what I mean? And then plus, it just seemed like, him in Chicago, man, that was just the right fit. The whole Nike thing, everything just like the perfect storm. It just all came together. His ascension, the shoe, the contract, not the NBA contract, because we know that he was underpaid for a whole lot of years. But, his whole, people identified the Jordan thing with the Chicago Bulls. All of that was all in one package. You know what I mean? I don't think I'm not saying he wouldn't still be selling shoes, because he was who he was and driven as he was. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it would be to have the same oomph to it if he was playing for Charlotte. Even though later on he played for the Wizards, but he was already well established as who he was and whatever people remember him to be. Within Washington, I think he was scratching an itch. He just didn't feel like taking out the trash.
And remember, and exactly what you're saying, Jay, he said it in a documentary too. He says, look, when the other players came, I had built this up. You got to understand.
That's what I was going to go to next. Yes.
Nothing. He's saying, we built this from nothing. What do you want me to just leave after? I'm not going to let Jerry Krause run me out. I'll play basketball. As long as you don't harass me. I done built this thing. I've built this. This is my team. And the kind of attitude, the kind of player he is. And Chicago was his city. As for basketball in this era, he put Chicago on the map. That wasn't a basketball city before the Chicago Bulls became the city, before Michael Jordan. Nobody thought of them like that. We thought about the Knicks. We thought about other teams. But we thought about the Milwaukee Bucks before we thought about the Chicago Bulls. He made us think about that city as a basketball city.
That's real spit. That's real spit right there. All right, fellas, last one before we get up out of here. This is good stuff, too, by the way. The one thing from Part 8 that just stood out to me, I mean, all of it's good, been fantabulous, actually, was this whole deal. For whatever reason, when B.J. Armstrong is on talking, man, it's like E.F. Hutton. I'm all ears. It's just something about the way he say what he say, man. You just know it's going to lead up to whatever's coming after he get done talking, man. You just know you just don't want to miss it, right? But he said, and I remember that playoff series, too, where he had that one game. He said, I knew Michael and them, and I knew the Bulls. I wanted to see if everything I had learned, if it would work. Well, that's what you're supposed to do, right? That ain't that when we raising our kids. At some point, you got to push them on out to see for all the stuff that we done told him over the years, something done stuck or not. Okay, got you. And then he had that one game, he hit that shot, and I call it the shot because it almost, not to a certain degree, you know, it was reminiscent of some shots we heard around here. You know what I'm saying? You know, he ran Michael off that screen. Michael couldn't get over there in time. BJ knocked it down, but that's BJ, though. I like, if you know anything about BJ Armstrong, see, you have to go all the way back to Iowa. He played at Iowa. I liked him at Iowa. He was a hell of a player at Iowa. Matter of fact, he was a damn sure hell of a player. Excuse my French fries again. At Iowa, but you know when he got to the Bulls, when he got to the NBA, whatever, they kind of, you know, we don't need you. You know, he ain't need to be in Chicago what he was for Iowa, or whatever. But BJ was a heck of a player, man. But when he hit that shot, Mike's response, man. That's why I say no amount of stats could substitute for this dude's will to win. A guy like Kobe's will to win, Magic's will to win, Bird's will to win. It's just them. It's just different, man. Mike said he knew better than to do that. Talking all that smack when he yelling at our bench or whatever. He said, I wanted Mike to know. I wanted Scotty to know. I wanted everybody on the bench to know. You understand what I'm saying? Mike was like, now why did he go and do that? Because he had to know at that point. Now I got a bone to pick with you. And here's what I don't get. How many stories have we seen prior to Mike being Mike? There's somebody that drew his ire. Are these people just a glutton for punishment or what, Double J? Why would you get him mad? You know what I'm trying to, the thing I would not want to do is get Jordan mad.
Well, you could tell it's a moment of weakness, and especially later, in these later episodes, that Nick Anderson shooting his mouth off, 45 isn't 23.
Yeah, exactly.
B.J. Armstrong showing excitement, general excitement for hitting a game-winning shot. That was crossing the line. You got to remember here, you couldn't breathe wrong, and this guy was going to take it to a whole nother level. And everyone seemed to be aware of that, but it was like, shoot, I did just that.
I put my foot in my mouth.
Woken up on the left side of the
exactly.
bat. I already ticked him off. He was that meticulous as a person. That's been demonstrated. He got emotional during the end of episode 7 about just his desire and how passionate he was about.
Oh, and I'm with him on that all the way.
What it took to be there. And so if you were a threat to that, even if it was breathing, simply just being a physical presence that could impede on his ability to get there, that was enough. Again, they used the example of something he made up in his own head that never actually happened.
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what did happen. LeBradford Smith happened. He had 37 for the game, and Mike was like, yeah, next. And that's another thing I wanted to point out. All this crap about back-to-back. They played on back-to-back. Them dudes was doing back-to-back flying commercial. Stop it. I don't want to hear about these dudes now talking about, we can't play on back-to-back. Right. We talked about that how many months ago, and I'm so glad some of that probably went over some people's heads.
You're the one who supported shortening the season. We really not gonna go down that road.
If I ever said anything about shortening the season, I was being cynical. My point has always been these dudes want more, but they want to do less. That's why I call it the Today BA. Believe me. You don't want me to pull the tape on that one now. Oh, I am always been a strong proponent for my whole thing has been, if these guys have so much more, they got more weights, they got personal trainers, they got dietitians, they got hyperbaric chambers, the contracts are better, they got humongous endorsements. They got way more. But they want to shorten the season? Oh, I ain't never been in favor of that. And then on the flip side, I always said, man, these dudes back in the day was smoking 6-7 packs of Newports and Marlboros getting on a plane, flying in Chattanooga one night, and then catching a bus to Sapiski or Poughkeepsie the next night. Man, come on, man. Come on, man. That back-to-back thing, them cats, they don't do back-to-back. Yeah, they did it back then. They did it back then. Y'all, you seen it. You seen it. And it didn't stop him. You know what I mean? Because he said what? If there was a kid out there who never, ever saw me play before, and he ain't the only one that said it. Ahmad Rashad, everybody talking outside of Mike said it, man. And even some of the reporters. They're like, man, that dude was that type of dude where he was going to make sure, because if this was your first time seeing me, he wanted to let you know the reason why you came to see him. He wasn't going to cheat the game, baby. You underdig me? Yes, sir. Yeah, Mike he was just something else, man. You know what I mean? You know. Brother Rich, can I get that picture that you got on the living room wall, you and him?
Not me for
when y'all was at the Chicago convention, man. Come on, man. Cut it out. Cut it out, man. Double J. Double J, can I get the picture that you threw in the trash?
Give me a digital print.
Can I get the picture that you threw in the trash after the whole handshake incident with your Detroit Pistons? Can I get the picture that you threw in the trash of Mike? Well, man, y'all ain't got to act like that, man. Yeah. I just like the fact that he told BJ, hey, man.
I thought you used that to flame the kettle.
No. No. Oh, that's funny to you, Brother Richard? Yeah, okay, got you. Y'all in this kettle. I'm telling you right now. Don't let this NFL season play itself out the way I got a feeling it's going to play itself out. You know what I mean? But we'll talk about that at another time. Yeah, man, at the end of the day, you know.
Wonder what he means by that. Wonder what, you heard that too, huh? Yeah.
What?
Anyway, you heard that too, huh? Yeah, I caught that as well. We both heard you, brother. And the whole world heard you. All the listeners heard you.
What did I say?
I hope the listeners are hearing you. Yeah, okay. The listeners know what you're saying.
Yeah. What did I say? I didn't say nothing wrong, did I? What did I say wrong?
See, this is why he and RB, being an NFC guy, why they get into it so well. Because, again, if he was in the AFC, we'll see you when we get there. But
right.
And when you're,
I don't know.
When you're on the same street, I guess it's that conversation never really dies, does it?
Oh wow, I don't know where that came from. My goodness, you all came out of the woodwork with that. What we doing here today? Come on, man, don't act like that. Barbershop J, baby. Yeah, it's all to the good, man. I hope everybody have a great season. If the season does in fact, play itself out, I hope everybody has a great season.
We're sure you do. We're sure you do, sir. We're sure you do.
Yeah. As always, fellas, great stuff. Oh, Brother Richard, by the way, as the reports are that your boy Lindor might end up being a Yankee. Oh.
Well.
No. Oh, okay.
It was not surprising.
Oh, no, it's not surprising.
I'm sorry, it wouldn't surprise me. It's the Yankees. They got money. They can pay. Come on now. Here's the pinch right.
Really?
Everybody wants to win one time in their life.
Why not the Texas Rangers?
Even Vince Carter.
Why not the Texas Rangers? I'm surprised y'all didn't make a Cowboys comment behind that one, too. Boy, I tell you, this Cowboy stuff is getting just downright up Chuck worthy. But anyway, yeah, fellas, I'm looking forward to 9 and 10. I'm kind of sad that it's going to be ending here next week. So we'll have to see. And I promised everybody we would talk about my man Moses Fleetwood, and we will. But there's just some other things that just popped up in between time and now time. But we will get to my Moses Fleetwood. And now that baseball might be coming around the corner here, we throw in some more baseball talk. We got some more racing stuff and some boxing stuff too on the calendars. Or on the calendar, I should say, coming up. So just stay with us, and we'll do the best that we can. And on that note, it's been fun, but we got to run. We appreciate y'all for listening. Don't forget to check us out right here on the Spreaker.com network. You go to the search box, and you type in the Shot Report. Oh, and please make sure you give us a subscribe or subscriptional. Or you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, and give us a follow. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And you can drop us your comments, suggestions via email, theshotreport365@gmail.com. Oh, and by the way, thanks to my cast Double J, D Gully, Our website is now up and functional. We're still adding some things to it, so bear with us. But that is theshopreport.com. Once again, the website is theshopreport.com. My admins do a very good job of keeping what content they can fresh. Got me? Yeah. And if that don't work, Google it. For my man's Bro Rich, Double J, and D Gully, even though he had to leave us today, and all those who follow and support us, we say thank you. I'm Barbershop J, and you've been listening to the Shop Report. Oh, and don't forget to check out my folks over at Rocket Digital up there in Detroit. As always, I want y'all to remember, the next time you want to know what's really going on, man, come to the shop. Walk-ins are always welcome. Holla.